The east coast of the UK is a gateway to the North Sea. Since 1975, oil and gas has been found and extracted for the benefit of all. In 2015, INEOS journeyed upstream and bought gas fields in the southern North Sea, creating INEOS Brea in the process. Following further progress, on October the 31st, 2017, INEOS became a top 10 oil and gas producer for the entire UK. And that's why I'm here, inside the new London offices of INEOS Oil and Gas. We look at the Dong deal and much more, coming up on INTV. We catch up with INEOS Oil and Gas UK and find out more about the recent acquisitions.
I think if you look at oil and gas as a whole, with now 6 businesses going forward.
INEOS Shale is pushing onwards. We catch up with them as they get into 3D imaging of the UK's geology.
We're undertaking the largest 3D seismic survey that's ever been done in the UK.
We take a look at the latest conservation projects INEOS is supporting. Our team in Texas have endured some tough times recently. We hear from them how they pulled together to combat the devastating effects of Hurricane Harvey.
And we set a general principle of let's just be generous, let's not be bureaucratic here, let's make sure we get the aid to people.
From gas fields to football fields, we have some other interesting acquisitions to highlight.
We're very optimistic that with the new plans that we have here, we can deliver European football for Lausanne in the next 3 to 4 years.
And as always, we'll hear from the INEOS chairman Jim Ratcliffe and catch up with the latest news and insight from across the group.
You never know what's around the corner with INEOS, so I mean, again, I've absolutely no idea what 2018 holds for us.
This year, INEOS completed a landmark acquisition. This deal has steered the company into new, exciting territory, resulting in the creation of an extended oil and gas business. INTV went out to get the story.
In September this year, INEOS completed the acquisition of Danish oil and gas business Dong. The deal now positions INEOS as a top 10 oil and gas company in the UK and the biggest private enterprise in the North Sea.
I think if you look at oil and gas as a whole, with now 6 businesses going forward, 900 or so employees across that group of assets, close to $1 billion of EBITDA in 2017, a very significant organization, and now with a platform that allows us to grow even further.
The Dong business had been built up around 3 world-class oil fields. Ormen Lang is the second largest field in Norwegian waters. Lagan Tormore is a new gas field west of Shetland, and Sid Arn is a large field in Denmark.
And the Dong portfolio had actually a reasonably good mix of both sizable near-term production, but at the same time it had over 300 million barrels of what we call contingent resources, which we know are there. It's a question of whether we can develop them economically, but they are there.
Off the back of the Dong deal, there has been further developments as INEOS acquired licenses to explore deep water areas to the north of Scotland.
We have agreed a deal with a company called Siccar Point to farm into a couple of licenses adjacent to acreage that we and discoveries that we have ourselves, with the aim to unlock that potential and ultimately develop a new area north of the greater Lagan assets that we own.
On top of this, there are 4 new wells being drilled by INEOS on its Brea field. A few members of the team managed to find time to take a closer look.
Going out there was very, very interesting. Understanding how they think about their safety, how they go about being efficient, how they manage what is inherently quite a dangerous environment to work in, and yet being efficient, I thought was fantastic. So I want to thank everybody for hard effort. Take a well-deserved holiday break, ready for some new action in the new year.
We've just heard about the new fields, licences and exploration that are happening off the back of the Dong deal. But earlier on, I caught up with someone who knows a lot more about our established oil and gas division. So David, you've been in this new job about 6 weeks. How's it going?
It's a different world, Tom. I've, as you know, been in the petchem world for 10 years with INEOS Oxide as business director. Coming to what is a challenging but very exciting part of the company today. A lot of interest, as you're aware, and taking over a business today which has some long heritage with some fantastic people.
And we're sitting here in Anchor House, so just explain to people what goes on now in Anchor House, a second big office we have here in London.
So we have here the subsurface teams, we have the production analysts, we have personnel, we have accountants, we have the commercial teams, and we have the Oil and Gas UK board who sit in amongst the team.
We heard earlier on from Ger about the work that's going on to develop the Brea field a bit more. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I think it's one of the challenges that this business has as opposed to the petchem world. Petchem world, you build a plant, it'll produce on day one, and it'll keep on producing in 10 years and 20 years' time as long as you maintain it. The inference of this business is by the day you bring it on, it's a natural declining asset. And the challenge that we have is how do you replace those assets over time? There's effectively three things you can do. You can acquire assets, you can develop the assets that you have, or that you can go out and explore. And indeed, today, INEOS Oil and Gas UK are doing those three things. We hope to bring on gas from one of the new wells around Christmas time, around Christmas Day, which will be a great Christmas present for us all. And we'll continue to develop around the Brea fields over the next 2 or 3 years. Indeed, we've got quite a big step out opportunity around 2020, 2022, which is what we call Bravo 2, Brea 2, where we'll develop the Breas to the southeast of the existing developments. The third thing is to go and look for new reserves in areas that haven't been explored before. Yeah. And that's the area that we're getting into today with the farming into the Lion licence in northern Shetland, which is the most northern licence on the UK continental shelf. INEOS has farmed into the Sicker Point licence. We now own 66% of that licence. We've got ourselves a drilling rig, and we're going to go exploring for gas in August of next year.
Great to get the inside track there from David. Now, INEOS's ambitions are not just related to offshore. INEOS Shale are working hard to find new sources of energy from right underneath our feet. We caught up with the Shale team to get an update on their progress.
INEOS Shale's ever-expanding business has recently appointed Ron Coyle as CEO. With almost 20 years at INEOS, Ron is heading up some of the most exciting work being done at the business.
At the moment, we're undertaking the largest seismic survey, or 3D seismic survey, that's ever been done in the UK. It's a huge logistical undertaking, and it's incredibly complex. And gather all this data from the seismic survey, see where we think the most commercially viable areas are. And so now we're in the planning process for when these seismic surveys end. We're able to look at the data. Then we want to drill some core wells to basically pull up core samples, take a look at that, see what the geology under our feet looks like.
Whilst these surveys will be used for INEOS's research and development purposes, the data will also have wider benefits for the UK as a whole.
We've got our own set of uses for the data. We're going to share this data with the British Geological Survey. So this will be available for future generations of scientists and others in the UK to use as they see fit.
Despite this, there are still worries amongst many UK communities about the seismic surveys. Tom Pickering has been key in building relationships with local communities up and down the UK.
We recognise that the foundation for this has to be the relationship with the community. There's a lot of myths and worries that are put out, and actually people expect us to come and talk and explain what we're doing. We've done a number of exhibitions just solely related to the seismic. We've continued with our community initiatives, hoping to get together community liaison groups, particularly related to any drill sites that we have. If we could put the UK in control of its own future in natural gas terms, instead of importing, instead of relying on countries where we don't have control over the behaviours in that country environmentally or with the workforce, giving us energy security, giving us energy for manufacturing, there's loads of good reasons to be doing this.
With 2018 not far away, INEOS plans to increase its drilling of core wells into the new year.
If we're going to cover, let's say, 250 square kilometers, we'll probably do closer to 500 next year. We want to drill at least 3 core wells next year so we can pull that data, take a look at it. 2018 is going to continue to be, an extremely challenging year, but we're running fast. People are excited about this from top to bottom, so it's going to be great.
Over on the other side of the Atlantic, our INEOS colleagues in Texas had to suffer one of the toughest summers ever. Hurricane Harvey had a huge and lasting impact on the Gulf Coast. This was an unimaginable disaster, and the effects of the hurricane are still being felt. We headed over to speak to some of the team about their experiences of this terrible ordeal that affected so many.
On Saturday, the 26th of August, Hurricane Harvey made landfall at Rockport, Texas.
This is another view of the satellite, and you can see that eye forming right there as it heads closer to the coast. So this is intensifying. It's expected to keep getting stronger.
The storm, from a wind standpoint, it wasn't much of a storm. It was the rain and the flooding that was different than anything else we've experienced.
Then the problem after that is the system basically crawls to a stop and lingers over the same area for about 3 to 4 days or so.
I've been in Texas for 20 years, and now I've lived through 2 hurricanes. This last one, though, was just completely unprecedented because of the amount of rain that we had.
Anywhere from 5 to 15 inches expected as we head into Monday to Tuesday, but 20+ inches of rain is possible.
Overnight, between Saturday night and Sunday morning, we had over 6 inches an hour for a several-hour period. And that's the point where we realized it was going to be very bad.
Basically, if you haven't done the preparations, the time is pretty much, you have maybe 1 or 2 more hours, but that's just about it. Things are already deteriorating rapidly out there.
Most of us were trapped in our homes, unable to leave for about 5 days. And then after that, when we left, all we saw was devastation.
The damage was widespread, and the battleground manufacturing complex was badly flooded.
So one of the things we had to do almost immediately was figure out how we're going to house and office 50 or 60 people that don't have offices anymore. So we're actually, right now, we're doubled up in our offices upstairs. We have people that are working at home. And it's really, until we can get this resolved, that's the way it's going to be for a period of time.
We maintained our crisis management team. We all participated in it, and we put a humanitarian effort in place in addition to plans to recover the business very quickly.
Through its dedicated employees, the site was able to get back up and running within days. But the extent of the devastation went well beyond the boundaries of the site.
All night we watched the water come up about 18 inches above the outlets. So there was a bunch of boats going up and down the street. So we opened the upstairs window, yelled out, "Hey, can you guys come get us?" But it was very, very overwhelming just to think about all the damage and where to start.
We went back to my mother-in-law's. We stayed the night there. We were safe for the evening. The next day came. I called a couple of neighbors, and they said that the water level had came down. So we were able to go back to the house, and as we get there, of course, pure devastation. We realized that we just realized that everything that was normal wasn't normal.
So we tried to get out to those people. It allowed us to establish contact and match volunteers very quickly with those people to support them.
People started to show up at my house just to help me. People from my job were showing up. What I started to realize is the hearts and the love that everybody actually has.
Donations from all over the world were made into the local INEOS ICAN Foundation. $33,000 were raised, matched by INEOS, and then given to the American Red Cross relief effort. INEOS also set up a fund to help its employees directly. In total, this amounted to almost $1 million worth of support.
it was really, really difficult to get supplies. And so I guess a call went out to Jim Ratcliffe, and he said, here's some money. Just do what you need to do with it and go take care of your people.
So we set up depots. We offered interest-free loans for a period of time. We went out and worked with our vendors to get supplies in place. We even brought in insurance experts and tax experts. And we set a general principle of let's just be generous. Let's not be bureaucratic here. Let's make sure we get the aid to people.
This is the interesting part. I don't know any other company for anybody in my neighborhood that has done anything like this. It is incredibly reassuring and incredibly supportive.
I think the conscience of your company and your culture comes from the top down.
Had people calling me, checking on me. My supervisor called and checked on me pretty regularly. I needed something to get to work, and I mentioned it to my supervisor. And he said, let me see what I can do. And a few days later, I got a call and said, if you can be up to the airport before midnight, we've got a rental car for you. It was an answer to a prayer. It was totally unexpected, And my wife and I are just very grateful to INEOS for providing us that resource.
And there was the HR department that was contacting me on a regular basis. She asked me, how would a 3-bedroom, fully furnished apartment help? Like, how would that help? It was really mind-blowing because I'm starting to realize that this isn't a normal employer.
The level of support that INEOS provided was just above and beyond and completely unheard of in this area.
My supervisor, my managers, the CEO, everybody, y'all are just amazing. And I'm proud to work for INEOS.
An extraordinary story of resilience, community and solidarity from our sites in Huston. We send everyone affected our best wishes. And taking heart from that story, we now move on to look at the exciting news that's happening across the INEOS Group.
The Daily Mile is going from strength to strength and has launched a new workplace campaign. The focus remains on the kids, but the aim is to help even more people get active by linking up with industry leaders such as Scottish Power.
Scottish Power have really engaged with the project, and they're encouraging all of their staff to do their daily 15-minute brisk walk to improve their fitness and their health and well-being. We've laid the challenge to INEOS as the Daily Mile's sole sponsor to help encourage not just those already active people within the organisation, but people from across all the sites who perhaps haven't got quite the same opportunity to engage in physical activity.
INNAM is back, and the first training camp took place in Lanzarote during November. The grads were put through 5 days of mountain biking and trail running in the challenging volcanic mountains. Building on the success of the feedstocks team, INEOS is setting up an energy trading team to trade the gas from the Dong and Brea acquisitions.
It's a very exciting project to take on such a large volume of natural gas and trade it out in one go. Going into this new trading venture, we will gain an awful lot of information that is useful to our existing businesses, but also in addition, it will give us the opportunity to really place ourselves as a major player in the energy trading space.
And finally, through INEOS Energy Station, we've been getting into some festive fun. The challenge was to dress as Santa and do some kind of physical activity. The winners will be given €1,000 to donate to a charity of their choice.
It's clearly been a busy and varied few months here at INEOS, and who better to ask about that than our very own chairman, Jim Ratcliffe. So Jim, first question's from Tony Davison-Brinch from Oil and Gas Denmark. What is your vision for INEOS Oil and Gas, and how do you see it in a couple of years' time?
Well, I think it's always difficult to sort of project too far forward in INEOS because, occasionally opportunities come by and we take advantage of those, but obviously you can't predict them, and who knows in oil and gas whether that might happen or not. But our presence in oil and gas now is you know, is a reasonable size. We're sort of top 10 in the North Sea, but in a sense, given the scale of INEOS, we've dipped our toe in the water.
Okay, so we've got a follow-up question, same business area, but this time from Jürgen Neumann, who was interested to know your thoughts on expanding E&P operations outside the traditional area of the North Sea. Can you see us going into other parts of the world?
I can't answer the question because I don't know the answer, but we've asked David Cook in the early part of next year to give us a presentation on other parts of the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll start to go down that road at least of understanding, and then we'll obviously start to think about whether that might make sense or not.
So just moving on from upstream, a question from the chemicals end here. How do you think this continued investment in upstream will impact on our ability to continue major investments in petrochemicals?
It won't have any impact, I don't think, on our petrochemical investments or acquisitions. I mean, the issue in petrochemicals really at the moment is more that it's top of cycle, and these, you know, assets, which typically we have bought at 30 or 50 cents on the dollar, are very expensive today. And, you know, in many cases today, it's more economical to build a new plant than to buy an existing one through an acquisition, and that's never been the case in our history. So it's more about the petrochemical marketplace being overheated, in my view, than an issue with oil and gas. Oil and gas has gone the other way, obviously. Changing to a different business sector, progress on the challenge of relaunching a new version of the Defender? We're on track, still on the road. By Easter of next year, so not very long off, you know, we'll have 200 German engineers full-time on the project. And the design, I think we're in good shape. We've sort of come a long way on the design front, so we're quite comfortable that what we've got works. It sort of fits the new legislation. Obviously things have changed a bit. You know, the existing vehicle, the existing Defender wouldn't work with the existing legislation, but I think we've got to a place which we're quite happy with. And finally, a question here. This year has been one of the most active for as long as anyone can remember, and the most profitable. Any plans you can share with us going forward? Any record labels, airlines, telecoms businesses, etc.? Well, you never know, do you, really? You never know what's around the corner with INEOS. So, I mean, again, I've absolutely no idea what 2018 holds for us. You know, it's a blank canvas at the moment. But this year, 2017, has been tremendously successful for INEOS. So, record profits, $7 billion of profits, record turnover, 60 billion of turnover, 85% of businesses beat budget, 50% of our businesses beat their all-time record, and we have 5 businesses either at or approaching a billion of EBITDA. So, you know, we've never seen numbers like that. You know. Even we will struggle to spend $7 billion.
It's certainly outside of our core business, but with everything else that INEOS has going on, Jim has found time to get involved in some fascinating conservation projects. We brave temperatures even colder than here in the UK. To find out more.
Iceland is a remote, fragile wilderness on the edge of the Arctic Circle. Despite its icy waters, it's home to a large portion of the world's North Atlantic salmon. However, this species is in danger.
Salmon stocks have been damaged with overfishing and ignorance about some of the impacts they have on the salmon stocks in the river.
Through his passion for salmon fishing, Jim Ratcliffe has invested heavily in the region to help expand the salmon's natural breeding grounds. This is achieved through the construction of salmon ladders next to previously impassable waterfalls.
Up to now, it's been impossible to fish to go up the river. This waterfall here has been the end point for the salmon up till hopefully next spring, when we will have water in this ladder and the fish can travel 4.5 kilometers upriver. But it's expensive, it's difficult technically. With this ladder, we are trying to use the ground as much as possible and use as little concrete as possible, if any.
Working in partnership with the Strangler Angling Club, who have managed stocks in the area for decades, 6 rivers have now been targeted for ladders and investment.
There's all sorts of things that you can do which improve conservation, and you know, this is one of the special places in the world for salmon, so that's what we're trying to do.
Jim's conservation ambitions aren't limited to colder climates. 6,000 miles south in Tanzania, a unique partnership has formed, a joint venture between the INEOS chairman and eco-tourism company Asilia.
Asilia is a sustainable tourism safari company. We operate 18 camps in Kenya and Tanzania and Zanzibar.
Asilia stands out from our competitors because we have a very particular focus. We seek to make wilderness areas thrive. This is quite a unique thing. Most people do not do that because they see it as a long haul, they see it as risky, and as a result don't touch it. So Jim Ratcliffe has a strong interest in Africa, and he became interested, I believe, in the south of Tanzania as an area. At the same time, the national park authorities in Tanzania were saying we would like some help, strengthen our presence and give this area a more sustainable future.
Jim is really excited about the idea of developing these areas, making them better known, bringing more tourism and help create a more sustainable future for these national parks and the people around them.
It's a long game. None of us are in it for the short term. So it's great to have that partnership because I think we have needed it and we will continue to need it.
A unique insight into some special projects there. Now, if you've been following the news recently, you'll have noticed that INEOS has netted some new acquisitions, again, slightly outside of our core business. INTV were there as the stories kicked off.
Founded in Britain in 1924, Belstaff specialises in outerwear for exploration, aviation and motorsport. Today, its brand is known around the world. In October 2017, the company, registered in Germany, was acquired by INEOS from JAB Luxury, bringing this iconic brand back under British ownership.
12 o'clock was the new ownership took place. Today was day one, and I think it's a start line, a new start line for Belstaff under INEOS ownerships. And I think there's very clearly a roadmap ahead and a path ahead, a massive opportunity.
Following the acquisition, the two companies met at an away day to begin planning for the future.
The absolute level of engagement from everybody, it's been non-stop talking. There's not been a single second when I as chairman have had to say what we're going to talk about next. Fantastic level of energy going in. Real ambition for the brand. Real excitement.
We can't do this in a day, but where we want to finish up in 3 to 6 months is we want a 5-year roadmap. We want to know where we want to take the brand and how we're going to get there.
There's no right wrong in this business. It's about conviction. You can do research, you can do data. At the end of the day, it's a clarity, it's conviction, and then you go. And I think that comes from challenging discussions, which we had today.
There is the potential to be very successful. You know, they sell for 3 times sales. If we ever get it to $1 billion of sales, it's worth $3 billion.
Continuing in this non-core acquisition trend, in November INEOS acquired Swiss football club Lausanne-Sport. The acquisition is in line with INEOS's sporting culture and investment in youth sports around the globe.
To buy a professional football club sounds a little bizarre, but it's been a great day here today for INEOS to have had the press conference and announce the acquisition of Lausanne-Sport by INEOS.
INEOS believes that Lausanne-Sport has the potential to make it to the top of the Swiss league and has set out its ambition of qualifying for European football.
What we really like about Lausanne-Sport is that they really have been focusing on youth and development of the youth players, building on that concept and actually turning into a pretty successful professional team, which is now 6th in the Swiss Super League. We're very optimistic that with the new plans that we have here, we can deliver European football for Lausanne in the next 3 to 4 years.
Well, that's all we have time for in this episode. That's been a packed edition of INTV, unsurprisingly, given how incredibly busy it's been at INEOS this year. Here at INTV, it's all we can do just to keep up, but I think we've managed it, and just in time for the holiday season. So thanks for watching. Have a very, very happy Christmas, and we'll see you in 2018.